You gotta talk at one each.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 26, 2023 regular scheduled Portland City Council meeting at Portland City Hall and later at Left Chambers. Please stand for pledge of allegiance. Word prayer and kneeling beside those serving and protecting us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Thy is the kingdom, power, and glory forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Beth Gilman.
Here.
Margaret Phillips.
Here.
Richard Morgan.
Excused.
Kelly Gangle. Here. Pat Hovis. Here. Jerry Trolley. Kathy King.
Here. Thank you. Council, you previously received the September 12, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Madam President, I hope we accept the September 12th regular meeting minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Troy, any discussion? A motion by Ms. Phillips, seconded by Mr. Troy to accept the September 12, 2023 regular meeting minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you, motion carries. The chair notes the certification has been received regarding the compliance of the rules and notifications of this meeting. You have no guest presentation, public comment?
Dave Bueller, 910 East Perry Street.
I'm asking about the property in front of, between Oak and Hayes, the swamp you guys put in there. Are we gonna do something about that, or is that as good as it's gonna get? Because literally, you guys moved a swamp 100 feet from my front door. And along with that comes the smell, the mosquitoes, just the eyesore. Is there gonna be anything, is that as good as it gets?
No, we got, like I emailed you back, that where Fish and Wildlife will come in and do all the maintenance and the control of all that stuff.
I have from the email from our last time we came here, I think it was either last September or October, they said that they were gonna trim the weeds, let it go over the winter, we'll get it in the spring. They didn't.
They didn't because they planted more pots.
And then they said the fence would come down, it didn't, it's still up.
The fence has to stay up there, the back fence has to stay up per the regulations with the.
For how long?
Through next year,
Through next year.
till next summer. Let me put it
So
that way.
it'll be down in the spring.
Yes, around
I mean, that's what you guys said on the last fence, and it came down in August, so.
that.
We
I can
spent
only
the
do
whole
what they
summer
said
with
for
that
the
fence
money.
up.
You will be there through the winter time.
Okay, so what's the plan to get the weeds down? That's what I don't understand.
The weeds, they've already been in to spray the invasive species, which they've been back, and it's still on the Corps that's doing that part of it. We have a 5-year deal. As soon as that's done, the Fish and Wildlife to come in and get the weeds and do all that kind of stuff, so.
Are they
I
gonna
have
trim
not
it
seen
down
the master
to
plan.
some kind of nice
It will be
level?
definitely trimmed down, yes, sir.
And that's starting
And when I
when?
get the plan, I will get you a copy of what their plan is. I do not have the maintenance agreement plan from Fish and Wildlife.
So I mean, last year they said that they were coming in, now they don't have a plan, is that?
They do not have the maintenance plan already defined. The Fish and Wildlife.
They did
is
this
working
without a
with the
plan?
Corps. Fish and Wildlife is doing the maintenance plan with the Corps of Engineers and doing it that way. So it's still, they got backed up partially because they planted more plants, as I told you before, and they didn't want them cut down at that point because they put more pods in there. So it will stay that way through the winter, I'm sure.
You know, I don't care about the winter, in the spring, I mean, I don't wanna go, if this is the third summer, it'll be the third summer
I
where,
understand that.
I mean, I didn't pay what I paid for that house to look at that.
I understand.
It's a 100-year-old house, it's not worth it. So it will get taken care of?
It will get taken care of.
Can I ask, what do you classify as getting taken care of? Removed completely?
Well, what would it take to get
Because that's not-
removed?
that's-
No,
that's
no,
not
what would it
happening.
take to get removed
That-
completely?
It wouldn't.
Wouldn't.
Never.
It
It's not.
can't. There is a contract with.
How long is
the
that
Army Corps of
contract good for?
Engineers.
How long is that contract
How
good
long
for?
is that good for?
I-
I was wasn't.
I was curious about that. I wanted to ask that
It's doing
question.
definite, but I honestly don't know.
It's a wetland.
I mean, it's been this way and filled in already, like before in the past, from what I understand. So, I mean, it can be filled in again?
No, it's a wetlands project. It's protected by the state of Ohio and the federal
Trust for
government.
public land.
It cannot just be, for your aesthetic purposes, be removed. This is something for the birds that come in
It's-
and
it's
migrate in the
A
spring.
2-block long,
Okay.
10-foot wide ditch.
And this
I mean,
is,
that's what it is.
I'm trying to explain to you what it's for.
I understand what you guys
Okay.
explained to me, that
And
that's what's for the birds, but
The
I,
city
Haven't
has
seen
a
a bird in it yet.
contract with the Army Corps of Engineers. This is something the city can't willy-nilly get out of. And this is something that is beneficial to the area with the native plants, the birds that come in and migrate. Huge birding season in the spring. If there are any birders, you can probably explain to Mr. Bueller how important the birds are.
they were here before that.
Okay, well, this is.
And there's tens of thousands of
this is-
acres in
Portland
McGee
has
Marsh.
been identified
This is a 2-block
as.
long. Okay, I mean, you can
So-
tell me all that, and I
Yeah,
don't
so
believe it,
unfortunately,
so-
we don't know how long it's gonna take. We don't know when it's gonna happen. We don't have a plan. We are at the mercy of the Army Corps of Engineers.
There's no plan.
The city,
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
well, no, actually, no, that's not what you needed to know. The city has a contract with the Army Corps of Engineers. They are the ones who run the operation. We do as they ask us to do. So, like I've stated before to you, if you wanna go ahead and get on the phone with the Army Corps of Engineers, there's a nice gentleman
We talk to him all the time.
Yep, who will continue to talk to you and continue to answer your questions. We cannot dictate what they do. Unfortunately, in this type of scenario, they dictate what the city does. This is a plan, I'm not sure what year it went into place, 2017, 2016?
So much earlier than that.
Much earlier than that. This is something that's been going on for
Since the 08,
Yeah.
07
Since-
time period.
2008, 2007. So this is not something that, you know, we can just dictate or
Okay.
control, unfortunately.
Meg Blackburn, 908 East Perry Street.
I'm Dave's neighbor, same concerns, just really wanted to know what the plan was. You know, that it has to look better than what it is today. And we were presented a plan to begin with. It looks nothing like that plan from the people that you want us to talk to. We keep asking, we keep hearing things, but then it doesn't happen. So just want to make sure it's still in the forefront. And it's not gonna stay the way it is now. If it looks like Waterworks Park down there by the pond, I'm okay with that, but not the way it is now. And it- is that plan public knowledge? I mean, why is it not, it keeps changing.
The plan isn't the city's plan, that's what we're trying to understand.
I understand that, but
It's the
is,
Army
oh,
Corps of Engineers plan. You can contact them, you can ask, you can file a public records request, you can request any information from them. But it's not our plan. They call us and they say, hey, we're coming, you know, on such and such date, and we're gonna plant more plants. They call us and they say, we're coming out, and people go into the water, and they look for these invasive species, they make sure everything is planted, and then they tell us what the next step is. They contacted us and said, hey, by the way, that fence, the portion of it can't come down.
okay.
And unfortunately, if the city goes against their plan, if we violate our contract with them, the city is gonna be fined a very large sum of money. So it's not our plan, we just do as they ask us to do, because back in 2007, 2008, this whole process began.
So basically, you guys don't know anything more than we do.
Right, they do not, there's no plan that they've given us that
But you're the
is
Can you
definitive.
find out? It's not the city's property.
Right.
It's in the trust for
But
public
you're the
land.
stewards of the
Yeah.
land.
Yes.
So let me
Ultimately.
comment back to what I said. We have a agreement with Fish and Wildlife for a 5-year maintenance program. They'll come in and help when that plan is totally developed by the Corps of Engineers, be turned over to Fish and Wildlife, and this is what we expect. These are the plants that need to go out, this is what it needs to be done. That has not been in my capability at this point yet. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Is there a plan that they are putting together? Yes. Have I seen that plan? No.
Okay.
But Fish and Wildlife, which I've had contact, and you know, we had some fish removal there that we did and those kind of things. So yes, and Ms. Shanker's correct. They want the fence up for the sand blowing fill the marsh up. That's why that particular fence had to stay. The rest of them, And believe me, I worked very hard to get that taken down because they probably would still be up if I didn't hound them all the time for that. I'll be honest about that. Not to everybody's satisfaction, I understand that, but we have stayed on that. When I have the full plan, I will be more than happy to share with you when they tell me, we're gonna come in, for example, we're gonna come in twice a year to spray invasive species. We're gonna come in and call it weed whipping or whatever, X amount of time. They have told us not to mow right now that close to the marsh. Stay away from getting our mowers in there where we mow along Perry Street. for
Okay.
now. As we move forward, that will be taken care of. That will be part of the plan, I'm assuming. We will have some input on, they're gonna send a draft of it, I'm sure, and we'll have some comments on that, and then we'll finalize it, and then we will implement it and make it go forward. That's how it's going to work.
So when is the end of their,
In the spring.
In the
that's why I
spring
said
is the
that I
end of their
believe that
reign?
They'll come back and do one more thing, and then in the springtime, then we will assume the plan. And I'm still talking to Fish and Wildlife all the time, and had them come in, and they've been in contact with the Corps. I follow the email chain, so we have been working on it, just so you know that.
Mr.
Okay.
Colson, Ms.
Thank you.
Am I correct in this statement? That area will never look like Waterworks Park, it will never get, the interior will never get mowed, it's going to remain in its natural state?
You're talking about the Derby Pond
No,
area?
no,
Yeah.
To look like the
wetland.
Derby
It
Pond,
will
no,
never-
it'll still be a wetland. That
It'll
was
still
the
be a
whole
wetland.
purpose of this, a wetland.
Yeah.
Now, as far as stuff growing like
Yeah, it
this,
won't
no,
be.
that will not, that won't be the case.
what about the shrub trees that are growing? Will those go?
Those I would, the shrub trees, yes. The
Okay.
shrub trees, yes. Some of the vegetation, not necessarily, so.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Gina Barna, 226 and 230 Adams Street.
Yeah, as a state officer, I spent a lot of time in the old city building, going to court and working with the police department. But, we have our properties on Adams Street, and we go by that, the old city building daily, and what an eyesore. Is there any plans on what's going on with that place? I mean, there's bricks falling out, there's windows broken, there's trees growing up along the side, and weeds, and, I mean, it's terrible. Is there
We
any
actually
plan
had
on
that
that?
discussion talked about that discussion at the last meeting. Anything, Mr. Holston, or?
Saying we've set them weed notices, obviously, our crew's gotta get out and get the weeds out of there. We bill a customer like we always do. We just have not had the wherewithal and the time to get that part of it done. Grass has been being cut, I do know that, but the weeds around the building, I agree with you 100%. And so, you know what, we send a letter, they don't take care of it, we go out and cut it, and then go from there. I can't really comment on the bricks and stuff, I'd probably defer to Mrs. Schenker on that as far as any of that. But from my end of it, with the weeds and stuff, yes, we need to get that taken care of and build the owner.
How long can it stay in that kind of condition? I can't believe a house would be allowed to be.
Well, if you look at some houses in the city, they are in deplorable condition. We have tried to send them letters, we have tried to enforce action against them, but if the person who purchased, like this is privately owned now, so the person who purchased the property tells you they don't have the money to do the repairs. I mean, that's what we've come up against. We've come up against astronomical repairs that need to be made, and somebody who probably bit off more than they can chew and are trying to catch up. That's, unfortunately, we have an exterior property maintenance code. I have sent many, many letters under that code. We don't have an officer to maintain that code, we just have the code. So we send letters, we request for compliance, we don't get compliance, and then we have to take them to court. And a lot of times they leave with a fine, and that's about it. So, for example, there's the property on the corner of Second Street and Jefferson that has a very large amount of weeds growing. I'm sure, it's right next to the fire station, I'm sure you've seen it. We charge the owner of the property, who does not live in that building, she lives outside of the city limits. We charged the owner, took her to court, she had to pay a $500 fine, and she did nothing to remedy the weeds issue. So now we filed it again against her, so we're gonna be back in court. I don't know what the judge will do this time, but unfortunately, a lot of these ordinances, probably with the exception of the transient occupancy tax, are minor misdemeanors, is the penalty, and it's a fine. So they pay more fines, repairs don't get done, it's kind of a double-edged sword,
It's not a
unfortunately.
condemned building or anything.
No, somebody owns it, yes, to condemn a building, the county building inspector has to go out and physically condemn a building. The city has tried to condemn a couple of houses inside the city limits that are much worse than that building. And we have had trouble having, so the original building inspector left, and they have not successfully filled that position. So we are still waiting for somebody to fill that position in order to try to have those properties condemned. So unfortunately, what we want to do and the resources we have do not match. So we're trying our best to get what we can get done.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. We'll go on to executive officer report. Council, this evening there are no new ordinances, and I don't have anything else, so move on to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council, good evening. Tonight's mayor's report is going to focus on Sesame Street. We all remember that show, and The Count. We're approaching Halloween, and The Count dealt with numbers. So today's mayor's report is going to deal all with numbers. First one is 3. The city now has 3 new police cars, with 3 still in the waiting down at the sticker and light shop down in Upper Sandusky. 12. You know, when we started discussion on the forward-looking infrastructure project, it was one project. Citywide comprehensive, one project. And as we've gotten grants and loans, we've broken off a piece here, broken off a piece there, switched a road that was just going to get paved over to maybe some underground work. So now we're up to 12 total projects from that one forward-looking infrastructure project. The next number is $19,179,000. It's actually a little bit more than that, but it's the total number of grant dollars that the city has received from the state and federal level for the forward-looking infrastructure project. The next number is October 7th. That's the last day for Mom Downtown. I know at the last council meeting I said, hey, it was going to be last Thursday. A few downtown businesses went to the Chamber of Commerce and said, hey, we'd like to continue this. We have some ideas. We'll pitch in. So it's going to run until Saturday the 7th. October 10th. That would be the day that the stage comes down, because it's a day after the Mom. That's also the next brush pickup, curbside brush pickup. So I'd ask that folks hold off until October 10th or the day before to put items out. October 16th. This is an important day. It's my dad's birthday. I want to get that in the record. October 21st. Saturday is going to be city cleanup from 8 to 3 right here at City Hall. October 21st from 8 to 3. October 28th is downtown trick or treat from 1 to 3. October 28th from 1 to 3. October 31st is the neighborhood trick or treat from 6 to 8 p.m. That's on October 31st. Friday, November 3rd, the Kiwanis Club is having their 10th annual evening at the races at the Elks Lodge. Doors open at 6. See me if you're interested. November 7th, Election Day. November 11th, the Port Clinton Firefighters Association is having their annual feather party at the fire station. Doors will open at 6 o'clock. Free, family-oriented event on November 11th. And we started with number 3, and we're going to end with number 3. The points Ohio State won by on Saturday. Madam President, unless there's any other questions, and sir, I will have a conversation with the owner of that property, because I work right next door to it and I see it every day, and so.
Does council, anyone else have a question?
No, I'm okay tonight.
You okay tonight?
I don't feel good, so it'll be quick.
Oh, nice, okay, thank you. Auditor's report.
Thank you, Madam President. October 26th, my birthday. But oh well. Council, you saw some documentation go out, not yet circulated to to the general public is my understanding, but the state audit of fiscal year 2022 is wrapping up this week, and we'll be meeting with Finance Committee and probably a few others to talk about the result of that and some changes that we would make, just like any other municipality in Ohio, except after an audit goes through. So thank you everyone for responding to their questions and providing all the necessary information that they need to test and review our practices, finance, but plenty of others, as many of you have learned. I'm happy to report, and I think council already knows, that the city of Port Clinton was awarded $959,000 from the U.S. Forest Service Inflation Reduction Act Urban and Community Forestry Program 2 weeks ago, I believe is when the announcements went out. I'll read the quick summary, it's very exciting. The project plans address chronic tree planting and management needs across numerous neighboring local communities in Ottawa County, Ohio, including the city of Port Clinton, village of Oak Harbor, village of Marblehead, and Danbury Township. The project will include tree planting, including fruit trees and migratory bird optimizing species within 5 years, and implementing a long-term urban forest management plan across the local government jurisdictions to ensure these benefits continue in perpetuity. Very exciting, and looking forward to it, and there's a kickoff call tomorrow that I'll report back to interested parties on what we have to do and what we should expect. Don't expect anything until next year comes up, meaning calendar year 2024, and I'll keep you apprised going forward. There's one more outstanding federal grant unrelated to the infrastructure project that we're waiting to hear back on. That's from the U.S. Department of Transportation for electric vehicle charging stations. We anticipate hearing that, the results of that competition within the next month, and I'll report back when I have something for you. Happy to answer any questions.
Anyone on council have questions for that?
I do. Mr. Belo, the 900,000, do we have to share that with anybody else, other parts of the county?
Yeah, so the program has a 50% cost share match. So a lot of the budget that we included from the city of Port Clinton side included some costs that we intend to incur anyway. And then the neighboring jurisdictions have each estimated what their spend would be over the next 5 years, and we included that in there. So Port Clinton would see the overwhelming share of the award across the 5-year period.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to treasurer's report.
All right, through the collections, as of 9/26, our bed tax collections are $246,913.33, and the dock tax collected is $25,627.82.
Thank you. Council, any questions for?
Yeah, I have just one. How do we compare to last year's numbers at the same time?
I don't have last year's numbers in front of me, but if last year's numbers were based on our budgetary purposes, we're currently $78,000 under for the year on the bed tax, and we're up $5,000 on the dock tax from what's been estimated. But we still have another month, 3 months to go, so we should be in good shape to hit our budgeted amounts.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Law director.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick update with the ordinance that we've been working on for the short-term rentals and the next upcoming meeting in 2 weeks. If the committee members, if you have any suggestions, ideas, ways to incorporate the zoning that you would like to see, please send that to me prior to the next meeting. Also, the other administrative staff, the treasurer, the auditor, safety service director, mayor, if you have any input, please also send that to me. If you want to speak, I know Ms. Poulter suggested that she has some information. If you want to speak with her, get some stats, whatever we can do to move this process along. We are up against the January 1st deadline, and we need probably at least a month in order to send out the new applications to our current short-term rental owners, which is about 240, in order to get them in compliance by January 1st. Otherwise, we're gonna have to push that date back. So it's very important that we have everything in place by the next meeting. And then anyone from the public, anyone from, the city, please, if you want to come, if you have any input, you can email me. My email is on the city website. If you have any suggestions, just something so we're not spending time at the next meeting wasting time on things like this. Let's try to get this done beforehand. I would really appreciate it, and I just want to echo Mr. Brenner's statement with, we have collected so far $246,913 in the transient occupancy tax based on those 240 or so rentals we have. So it is definitely a good thing for the city to keep that going. So that's all I have. I just wanted to just make sure we really stay on track and can get this done before the next meeting, so we can have a productive conversation the next meeting.
Okay, is there anyone else have a question?
To that point, for Mr. Brenner's numbers, that includes hotels though as well, like Fairfield Inn, and that's
Correct.
all combined into there. It's not just short-term rentals.
Correct.
And our transient occupancy tax ordinance, as it stands right now, includes hotels and short-term rentals into one, so it does include everybody. That's correct.
Can we ever have that broken out separately to see what the, do we know how much we get from hotels versus other short-term rentals?
Yeah, we, Ms. Ostheimer has a wonderful spreadsheet that she
I
can
have
tell
it
you.
as commercial and the opposite, so it's very accessible.
Awesome.
I can send that to each of you.
Thank you.
Supervisor's report, Mr. Colston.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. Committee reports, Finance, Ms. Hovis.
I just want to remind my committee that we are going to have a meeting on October 10th at 5:30 to discuss Resolution 2311.
Environment and Public Works, Mr. Trolley.
Nothing scheduled as of today.
Safety Services, Ms. Phillips.
Thank you, Madam President. October 24th, is that the second Tuesday?
Mhm.
So we're gonna have a 5 o'clock meeting then on the 24th to take up again, what?
I believe when we had the prior meeting, we indicated it was gonna be the next Tuesday, the following Tuesday.
But she's got one for the Finance Committee.
I have one at 5:30.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
So you just have to make sure.
We'll go for the 24th at 5 p.m.
Economic and Community Development, Mrs. Gilman.
We don't have any ordinances on our agenda to discuss, but we'll have a brief meeting. I know one of our members is absent, so directly after this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Move on to correspondence. Under correspondence, we have the Safety and Services Committee meeting minutes from September 12th, 2023, Architecture Review Board meeting minutes from August 31st, 2023, and Planning Commission meeting minutes from August 10th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
Madam President, we move to approve the correspondence as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Phillips, seconded by Mr. Trolley to approve the correspondence as stated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Motion carries. The correspondence are approved. Move on to readings of ordinances and resolutions. We have nothing under third readings. Under second readings, will the clerk please read by title and summary only, Resolution 23-11.
Resolution 23-11, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action as to Resolution 23-11? Seeing none, Resolution 23-11 will move to its third reading at the next regular scheduled council meeting on October 10th, 2023. No first readings. We move on to business from the floor. Mrs. Hovis?
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Mr. Trolley?
I'd like to speak on Mr. Mayor's pet peeve, and along with all the rest of us, Boulevard living rooms. I see they're starting to add up again out there. What's the process? Are they getting taken care of when they're notified?
So we passed an ordinance giving the police department the ability to ticket anyone who has anything at the curb out for more than 24 hours. I know the mayor drives around daily, and if he sees something, he sends it to Ms. Ostheimer, and she forwards it to the police department. I know previously, the reason why we have the amended ordinance that was passed was there were 15 and 20-day timelines that someone had. Now it's 24 hours. We just need to, I don't know on the enforcement side how much of it is being handled, but we do see that items do disappear. So we can only assume that it is working, the process is working. But the police department does have 24 hours. So if they see something today at 5 o'clock, tomorrow after 5 o'clock, it's fair game to ticket. I know they like to try to notify the homeowner first and try to see if they could work something out. If any homeowner has anything at the curb that, for example, like let's say they contact Republic and Republic can't pick it up until 2 days, 3 days later because of their special bulk pickup, and it's somebody who needed help getting it to the curb. All they have to do is contact the city and just let the city know that it's being handled and when, and then that the police wouldn't ticket that person. But stuff is disappearing,
Right,
so
right.
unfortunately, but
There's
it's
quite a
still.
stack of tires on Sixth Street. Okay. Also, while we're talking about the city right-of-way boulevards, political signs in that right-of-way, they're no longer, not allowed, correct? They have to be in a person's yard, right?
They have to be inside someone's yard.
Okay.
And that's for any sign.
Right,
Now,
right, any
any-
sign, not just,
any sign in
well,
the
it's
boulevard.
political season now.
Right, right.
But any sign, can't be in the boulevard.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I know the police also go and pull those as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Ms. King?
Nothing to it.
Ms. Gangle? Mrs. Phillips?
No, I have nothing to say. Things are going nicely, I think. No snow.
Mrs. Gilman?
Madam President, I move to amend ordinance 21-23, passed September 12th, revising throughout the Ohio Revised Code section to be 5705.41 D1, and that the amendment be effective the original date of passage by council September 12th, 2023. And Mr. Beal would like to say anything about that.
Sure, thank you, Madam President. There was a small clerical error that was in the previous ordinance related to an item about the blanket purchase order agreement approval and limit set by council last time. This is an item that the state auditors flagged for me and asked, and so I'm asking you to pass that motion. We should be good to go. I'm happy to answer any questions about it. It was strictly an ORC reference error in the text of the ordinance.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion or questions for the auditor? We have a motion by Mrs. Gilman, seconded by Mr. Trolley to amend ordinance 2123, as she stated there. There we go, thank you. To amend ordinance 21-23, passed September 12th, and revising throughout the Ohio Revised Code, section to be 5705.41 D1. And that the amendment be effective the original date of passage of September 12th, 2023. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Pat Hovis. Yes. Kathy King.
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Beth Gilman.
Yes.
Kelly Gagel.
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries by a vote of 6-0. Ordinance 21-3 is hereby amended. Seeing no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move this August body adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. King. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. We are adjourned.